Hello, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining and welcome. Just going to give it a quick moment here as we see some folks joining us. Thank you for joining our first ever ACI What's Next for Appraisal session. Yay! All right, just a few more moments. All right, let's get this thing started. Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Angelone, and I'm the program director at ACI, overseeing our platform and product initiatives as we move forward. I'll be hosting this series and guiding our conversations over the next couple of months. Many of you joining today have probably been with us week after week on our Workbench beta brief calls. So I want to start by acknowledging that and saying thank you. Those conversations have been incredibly valuable as we've tested and learned and refined how Workbench is coming together. So as we move into 2026, we are intentionally shifting how we show up and how we communicate. We're moving from beta-focused conversation into a readiness-focused one. That shift reflects where Workbench is headed and how we want the industry to engage with it going forward. So instead of our weekly beta updates, this series is designed to give a broader view into platform direction, standards alignment, and how the different things we're building connect over time. So I also want to introduce my co-host for this series, Evelyn Schallberger. Evelyn Schallberger leads product for ACI's appraisal line of business and is deeply involved in how Workbench and our broader platform are being designed and delivered. So she brings the day-to-day product perspective and helps to translate roadmap direction into what it actually means in practice. So you'll hear from Evelyn regularly throughout this series. So I'll be hosting and moderating the conversation, and Evelyn will be our resident subject matter expert as we walk through platform direction, product evolution, and how these changes show up for appraisers and our customers. Now, ACI has been in the appraisal industry for more than 40 years. 40 years. And over that time, we've built deep relationships across the industry and worked alongside some of the brightest minds in appraisal, compliance, valuation, and technology. Our team today reflects that same range of perspective. We have people who have worked as appraisers, supported appraisal businesses, built enterprise platforms, and partnered closely with lenders, AMCs, and regulators. So with this series, we want to share that collective experience with you, not just what we're building, but how we're thinking about change, what we're learning along the way, and how we're preparing for what's ahead. For us, leadership is in this industry, it means being transparent and measured about change. It means not rushing ahead and not standing still either, but moving deliberately and bringing customers and partners along with us. And that's really the spirit of this new series. So just a quick word on how these sessions will work. If you've already been joining us in our weekly beta sessions, you're familiar with this getup, but this is a bi-weekly town hall series. It's listen only with moderated Q&A. So we can keep the conversation focused and useful for everyone. But if you have questions, if questions come up as you're listening, please go ahead and submit them through the Q&A box at any time. Our team is on standby and we'll be responding to questions here throughout the entire session. We'll also reserve a few questions for live Q&A at the end. So if there's something you'd like us to address more broadly, that's really the best place to submit it. These sessions aren't deep training or feature by feature walkthroughs. These are designed to provide clarity and context around how appraisal technology is evolving and how ACI is preparing for what's next. So we decided to start this series now because the industry is at a real inflection point. Standards like UAD36 are changing how work gets done, and expectations around compliance, data, and explainability are increasing. And at that same time, usability and efficiency matter more than ever. So this felt really like the right moment to just step back from individual updates and create a space to talk about the bigger picture together. So now that we've set the stage, I do want to spend just a few moments on why we chose to call this series What's Next and why we think this conversation matters right now. When you look at the appraisal industry today, a lot of change is happening at the same time. Standards are evolving, data expectations are increasing, compliance is becoming more structured, and at the same time, there's that growing pressure on usability, efficiency, and speed, especially for appraisers and teams managing higher volumes of work. All of that creates a real tension. It's a pull. And it's not just about adopting new tools, it's about understanding how everything fits together and how decisions made today affect the way work gets done tomorrow. At ACI, we see this moment as more than a set of individual changes. We see this as a shift in how appraisal platforms need to operate. That's why we didn't want this series to be framed around a single product or a single release. Instead, we wanted a place to talk about direction, about how standards, workflows, technology, and user experience are evolving together, and how we're intentionally building for that future. This is what we mean by what's next. It's not about predictions or hype. It's about helping the industry understand where things are headed, what's changing underneath the surface, and how we prepare in a way that's practical and measured. For ACI, this approach is about responsibility. We've been in this industry for a long time, and we know that the choices that we make and the way that we communicate about them have real impact on appraisers, AMCs, and enterprise teams. So rather than waiting until changes are fully landed or only communicating through release notes or asking you to run your web updates, we want to bring you along in the thinking, to share context, to explain trade-offs, and to connect the dots between what you're seeing today and what's coming next. Each session in this series will focus on a very specific area. Sometimes it will be compliance, sometimes workflows, sometimes mobile, which we know everybody is super excited to talk about. We are too. Sometimes we'll talk about enterprise or AI. What will stay consistent is the intent. These sessions are designed to give you clarity, not overwhelm you, give perspective, not pressure, and a clearer sense of how ACI is approaching the future of appraisal technology. So today, we're starting at the highest level with platform direction for 2026. So not to go too deep into the details, but to give you a shared frame of reference for everything that follows in this series. So to walk through how that platform direction shows up in practice and how we're thinking about evolution over the year, I'm going to turn this over to Evelyn, who leads product for our appraisal line of business. Miss Evelyn, take it away.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. Wow, what a great start to the series, right? Sets the tone beautifully and perfectly. Hopefully, it's very clear to everyone. The beta briefing call was fantastic, but we've got so much more that we're working on. So thanks, Kim, for setting the tone there. And as she said, I want to take a moment to talk about, she talked about the what and the why. And so now we're going to talk a little bit more about the how, specifically the how we are thinking about platform direction as we head into 2026 and how that direction guides the work that we are doing through the entire year, beyond the year, just the vision and strategy overall. So this is very intentionally high level, right? Kim noted it's not a feature discussion. It's not necessarily this one thing is being released this evening. This is a shared way of understanding where we are investing and why we are doing so. We being ACI as an organization, for our standards, our workflows, just expectations overall. So I'm going to walk through what's on the screen here, and I'll refer to them often as the core pillars that are shaping everything that we're doing. And when I say everything, I really mean all efforts, all requirements, everything that we are doing at ACI in 2026 ties to at least one of these. In most cases, it's kind of a web and it connects to much more than just one. So at a high level, we're focused on a few simple outcomes, right? We are focused on more confidence and compliance, less manual work, faster, more efficient workflows. That's what this all means for our customers, right? A lot of words on the screen, but what does it mean? What does it translate to tangibly for you? And again, that's confidence and compliance, less manual work, faster, more efficient workflows. But when we talk about these pillars, the first pillar is smarter platform foundations. And this is about strengthening the core of the platform so it can support greater automation, better performance, long-term scalability across ACI products. Again, not just Workbench, right? A lot of this work happens behind the scenes already, but what this is going to enable everything else to do is move forward in a stable and sustainable way. So very excited about that first pillar. The second pillar that we're talking through, compliance and regulatory readiness. This screams UAD 3.6 right now, right? But as requirements continue to change, perhaps that changes. Maybe there's, other things that we shift to need to be compliant with and have, a need to be regulatory ready for. We want to make sure that we're helping customers stay aligned with that while reducing the manual effort that you have to put in to be ready for those things, right? The focus here is adaptability. I'd say that's the buzzword here, making it easier to respond to change without adding complexity to everybody's work. Our internal work from a dev perspective and yours from a user's perspective, no matter what type of user you may be, whether it's appraiser, enterprise, whatever it is. So that's the compliance and regulatory readiness pillar that we're focused on. Another key area is improved usability and faster time to value. So this one is about making the platform easier to learn and easier to use. We have heard a lot from users about that in particular. And so we heard and we're doing something about it, right? Through all of the ongoing enhancements to workflows, onboarding, navigation, we are focused on making sure that we're helping our users get productive faster and complete the work more efficiently. Obviously spending less time figuring out how to do that, how to use the different tools that we're creating. So that's pillar number 3. We also have expanded mobile capabilities. There's so much good happening here, and I can't wait for, a core reason for enhancing the series is because we're going to be able to talk about this in such greater detail as the year progresses. But here we are enhancing mobile experiences to better support in the field workflows, right? Improve form interaction, or report, I should say, report interaction, and allow work to move just seamlessly between all of the different environments, right? Whether you're on your tablet, your phone, whether you're in Workbench, no matter what it is, we want to make sure that we are improving the connection between those environments. So the goal is continuity. Work should carry through, regardless of where it's happening. The next one, cloud modernization and form expansion. It's not a secret that we're modernizing forms, but we are also modernizing workflows, within a cloud native framework to improve performance, flexibility, all the buzzwords, right? Long-term scalability, and this work positions the platform to better support a broader range of use cases, and the market over time without sacrificing reliability. So cloud modernization, form expansion, I'll talk a little bit more about what that means here shortly. And finally, intelligent automation for enterprise clients. So for those enterprise solutions, we're continuing to evolve smarter automation and analytics designed to improve efficiency there, increase just the throughput and provide clear operational insight, especially at scale. Excuse me, this cough, man, is really killing me this week. But taken together, all of these pillars, they really reflect how we are thinking about the future of ACI, of our platform. And as I said earlier, we put a little blurb down at the bottom. What does it mean for you? A lot of things we just went through, and it all sounds really great. But what does it mean for customers in any capacity? It means more confidence in compliance. It means less manual work. It means faster completion times and a platform designed to evolve with your business, however, that business is evolving, or whichever client type of ours that you are, whether it's appraiser, enterprise, any of that. So it's a platform that's built to evolve alongside our customers and not, again, Kim said it beautifully, force that abrupt change, right? I think hopefully I said that right. So that's how we are approaching the future of appraisal technology at ACI in 2026. This is the lens we're going to use throughout this series as well. Like this will be the core, this will be the foundation, again, the pillars that we are focused on. And I know we want to give time for questions, but before we move into that, I'll add a little bit more context here, right? Earlier in the year, with the focus being 100% on Workbench, which is very much aligned to the compliance pillar that we talked about, but it's also, workflow and usability, but making sure that that foundation is solid, the standards are met, that customers can operate with confidence. We can then go into that broader pillar where we start to look at Workbench as our flagship solution in valuation period, right? Not just in the US, but also for our Canadian appraisers, not just for appraisers, but also for brokers. Whatever the valuation need is, this is what we are trying to scale out for our customers. Again, when we say that, that's what we mean by that. So also there's all the feedback that we've been collecting for over 9 months. The feedback model, if y'all have been in the beta call, I will die on this hill. The feedback model is fantastic. Keep using it, by the way, if you are in there and you are testing. But there's so much good that came from that. There's so many requirements that came out of that. That input, Kim said it very well also, that input is how we prioritize, and it's how we shape what we are doing, where we are moving forward. So all of those pillars, all of that feedback helped fuel that as well. So, we talked about it earlier. Thank you guys for the commitment in the beta program. But I wanted to leave a little bit of that context as well before we kind of open it up for questions. So I'm sure there are plenty, and if I left anything out, please let me know, Kim. But with that, I will turn it back over to you.
So you're gonna die on the feedback modal hill.
Use the feedback modal. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it.
All the features that it's so funny because you've Workbench, yours ground up. And so all of these features that we have in there that are super cool, right? Like the progress tracker and even just drag and drop photo, all of these different components, your absolute favorite is
feedback
the feedback modal.
100%. Because I could build what would work for me and what I like easily, but it's not for me. I'm not the end user, right? So yeah, the feedback modal for me as a PM is gold.
You get so mad when I tell people just to email us their questions.
Oh.
All right. So speaking of questions, we do have quite a few in the Q&A. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for sending these over. And it looks like our team flagged 3 for us today, Miss Evelyn. So first one, let me see. I'll take this one for us. So when you say platform direction, what does that actually mean? Okay. So that's a great question, because the word platform, it gets used a lot and can mean different things to different people. When we talk about platform direction at ACI, we're not just talking about a set of tools or features. We're talking about the underlying foundation that supports how appraisal work gets done over time, even as standards and workflows and expectations continue to change. So in the past, technology in this space, it traditionally has been built around individual forms or isolated functions. The 1004, the 2055 sketch, right? They're individual forms and isolated functions. And that approach works for a while, but it becomes harder to adapt as requirements evolve. And a platform approach is different. It's designed to handle change without forcing constant rework or disruption. That's why for us, Workbench is foundational. It's our flagship. gives us a single modern foundation where compliance logic, workflows, data, and user experience can evolve together instead of separately. So long term, this means that we can introduce new capabilities, whether it's usability improvements, mobile workflows, that seamless experience that Evelyn was just talking about, intelligent automation. We can introduce that in a way that builds on what's already there rather than replacing it. And so that's also why, change is staged. We start with compliance and readiness. That really is our primary focus right now and moving into Q1, compliance and readiness, and then focuses on experience and efficiency. And then only then we start to layer in more advanced capabilities. So we're building off of what Workbench is. And that pacing, it's intentional. It allows our customers to adopt to change in a more manageable way while keeping the platform stable and predictable. So when you hear us talk about platform direction, what we really mean is that we're building with the long view in mind. We're making decisions today that allow the platform to support what comes next without asking customers to just constantly start over. Okay, I hope that answered your question. All right, another question. Let's see. Where is ACI right now with UAD36 readiness in broad production? I knew you guys were going to ask this.
It's a good
I
question.
knew it.
Fair question.
I'll take this one too. So that's a fair question, and one that I know is top of mind for appraisers and industry partners alike. So broad production, it's a milestone defined by the GSEs as they roll out UAD36. As that rollout begins, our focus is on ensuring that Workbench is positioned to support U8036 requirements in a way that appraisers can rely on for production use. We are actively working toward that readiness today. Workbench is being built to support the required U8036 structure and logic, and we are actively testing use cases with the GSEs as part of that larger verification process. Our goal is to support appraisers through broad production window with a compliant, stable, and practical solution. So we're being very deliberate about how we get there. We're prioritizing real world usability and alignments as standards move into production. And as that work continues, we will absolutely keep communicating about our readiness, about progress on these calls. All right. Well, we have a few more minutes. You ready for one more question? Evelyn, I think I'm going to pitch this one over to you.
Okay.
Can we still give feedback on Workbench? And is the feedback tool still being used?
Stop.
Your favorite topic.
Stop it. Of course it is. My goodness. Yes, absolutely. We opened the call up to make it broader for everyone to participate. So there are some folks that maybe don't have access to Workbench. By the way, if you don't, let's get you in there. But if you are in there, yeah, absolutely. That's active. It will always be in there. Even broad production, whatever it is, the feedback modal is when we talk about, foundation and platform and all of the buzzwords that we use today, the feedback modal will translate into a lot of different products in a lot of different ways. But in Workbench specifically, straightforward answer, yes, absolutely. Keep using it because that tool helps us further refine a lot of that readiness that Kim just talked about for broad production and the report types that you're going through and using it. So it goes without saying, or I mentioned earlier that the customer feedback keeps shaping what we're doing. I cannot do that if you don't use the feedback tool. What we see in other forums is great, right? If someone throws something out in a Facebook group or whatever, like, yeah, I can work with that a little bit, but this is more tangible, right? It's also productive and a little bit more helpful for us to direct it in a way that creates results for you. So yes, please, moving into readiness doesn't mean feedback stops. Even when Workbench is perfect and out in the world for everyone to use, I will still always tell you use that feedback modal so that we can build something else for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Evelyn. And I'm gonna do the one thing that you get most angry about, and that is because you mentioned a very good point. And Evelyn and I have been podcasting away here for I don't know, quite some time on a weekly basis with our beta customers, but we do have a broader audience this time. So there are folks that are not actively in Workbench. So I'm going to throw it out there. If you do have questions about Workbench, if you want to learn more about what we're doing, if you have feedback that you want to give us without using the actual modal within Workbench, you can email us at workbench@aciweb.com. And I'm sorry I don't have it available to put up on the screen, but it's workbench@aciweb.com. We got a team that's available on that distribution list. We'll make sure that we get some answers back to you, hopefully within a couple of hours of reaching out to us. All right, so before we wrap up, because we only have a couple minutes here, I do want to thank all of you for the questions, for joining us today. We really appreciate you being part of this first What's Next for Appraisal session. The goal today was to set a shared frame of reference, to talk about where ACI is headed from a platform perspective, how Workbench fits into that direction, and how we're thinking about change in a measured and intentional way. So as we mentioned earlier, this series is designed to build over time, and each session will go a little bit deeper into a specific area, using today's conversation as the foundation. We have some very fantastic special guests lined up throughout the next few months, from all across the industry, but I am really excited to share that our next session will be on January 22nd. So again, this is bi-weekly, so 2 Thursdays, and it will focus on U8036 and standards context. And we will be joined by a very special guest, Peter Crum. He is the Chief Appraiser for First American Mortgage Solutions. And that session will be a high-level discussion about how U8036 is changing appraisal practice, what those changes mean in an actual real-world context, and how to think about them as the standards move into broad production. It's really designed to be a practical and informative session, not necessarily technical or prescriptive. So if you have any questions that you'd like Pete to address during the session, he loves to answer questions and we love to give him questions. We would love to hear them. So you can go ahead and send them in advance to workbench@aciweb.com, and we will pull them together and make sure that we keep Pete nice and busy on our next session.
He'll love it.
He will love it. He does love it. He gets very
really
excited
does.
about these
He really does.
opportunities. All right. So thanks again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Evelyn, thank you for going over our roadmap strategy for 2026. Super exciting. So many great things coming up. And we look forward to continuing the conversation with you on January 22nd and to building this series together over the next coming months.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thanks, Kim. This was great.
First one.
First one was great. Love it.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye, y'all.